allowed to be awkward for like the first 30 seconds.
Probably get the jitters out. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
let's be too hot.
Let's each take a sip of our drinks before we hop in.
Yeah, your little lemon honey life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so here we go. This is the Emily Hardy interview for the I Really Do release. I'm Allison, your host.
T'Challa's in the background.
Yeah, Emily's cat is hanging out with us as well. But with me today, I have Emily Hardy, who just released her sophomore book on Amazon called I Really Do, which a lot of people will probably be familiar with that are listening to this. So go ahead and give us your elevator pitch about yourself.
About myself? I'm 32. I like long walks on the beach. I have a dog and 2 cats. Happily married for 2 years. That's where we're at in life.
You did a book previous to this one.
I did. I did Blood Moon Bound. It is very different vibes. But if you're into lesbians, vampires, or BDSM, check that out. Finger Guns. Also on Amazon. Yeah, and then I Really Do.
Yeah, so we're a little delayed getting this out because, as you can hear, my voice is a little bit scratchy. We're a little prepubescent, if you will. My voice does not sound at 100%, so I apologize if this is overly scratchy, but really we kind of just wanted to sit down and have a conversation between buddies about the process of taking fan fiction and releasing it to a wider audience. So a lot of people had questions in a similar vein, so I won't really be naming names, but kind of grouping and batching questions that kind of fall into a similar lane with each other. But really, the conversation just kind of wanted to ask the questions around, how does a fic author or a fan fiction author kind of fall into writing fan fiction? I guess that's probably the first step of the whole journey, or is there something that comes kind of before that? Like, what makes you want to write a fan fiction?
My fan fiction journey started in 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. I was living in Denver, actually. Sorry, y'all, we shared a lot of life stories today. I was living in Denver at the time, and Winona Earp was airing. And I do remember that. And I had more that I wanted characters to say or do. I won't dive too deep into it because I know we're not trying to have me tangent for 2 hours on every question. But let's just say I wanted things to be different. And it was probably the first time that I felt strongly enough about characters that I had an opinion. And that became a bit of an outlet for me in terms of, I don't want to say rewriting a story, but maybe changing how some things went. Liking the foundation of characters, but not necessarily liking their paths or certain things that happened on said paths. So that was probably my first time as kind of like a character fix-it, if you will. And then The Wilds came out, and I loved those characters, but that story after season 1, I was never a quiet fan or quiet about it, but I didn't like season 2. And as a result, I wanted to give the original 8 more of a story. So my like big fic or long fic was really just a continuation of the show. And then any others that I wrote were completely AUs, just doing their own things with the characters that I loved so much. So, and then, then fast forward, Warrior Nun was the next one that kind of caught me. And the only reason I really got into writing Warrior Nun was because there was so much unexplored, because their love story wasn't the plot. So there's so much between them that was left unexplored. Not through the show's fault necessarily. Cliffhanger ending, which my feelings on. But cliffhanger ending didn't get to explore the love story like I wanted them to get to explore. So I wrote it how I wanted to write it in a whole different world.
So I Really Do was born and kind of explain that process of like, how did you come up with the idea? what was it like publishing on a weekly basis, because they were Monday releases?
They were Monday releases.
So Mondays sucked a little less for most of us that were living in the spring and summer of 23?
22 or 23.
23, yeah.
Yeah.
So Monday sucked a little less for those of us in the spring and summer of 23 while the fic was being released. But what kind of brought you to that, you know, those characters in that AU and bringing that story to life?
I think what was so much fun about Warrior Nun is that there is so much that you didn't know about the characters. They were so delightful and we loved them so much, but it was such a plot-driven show. I think people are super protective of the characters because they love them, but so much of it was headcanoned. You don't know. You hear a little bit, you hear snips and pieces, you get to see Lilith's mother, that I was hoping had a more grisly end. But you don't get to know them as well. We know nothing about Camilla outside of her nunship. We don't, I don't know what that would be, her nunning times. We don't know anything.
Nunnery.
Yeah. We don't know anything about any of them, really. I mean, B, to some extent, because we see her interact most with Avis, but particularly in season 2, but you don't meet any of her people from before. And we don't really see much about her true interests. You know, we don't know her last name. We don't know her favorite color. You don't know any of that from what they give you. So that being said, it just kind of, to love their love and to hope they knew more about each other, it was kind of fun to fill in pieces and make it up, which is why IRD, or I Really Do, is really follows Beatrice's character, because it was all made up. It was what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And you took, you know, obviously some pieces of, you know, canon from the series into the fic, but a lot of it was original.
Yeah.
So when you're living in that, you know, weekly release, getting feedback, things like that, when do you decide if something like this has legs to stand on its own beyond the fandom that it's feeding or that it's supporting? Like, when does that come to you? While you're in the middle of it? Does it come to you after it's wrapped? At what point do you think, like, this could potentially be its own standalone something outside of fandom?
So, with the Wilds, I had written a fic that was actually based off of my rugby career in college. And I had tagged it out of character. But I did get comments still that were very much like, nah, it's out of character. And that's fine. I mean, I just would politely remind people, like, yeah, I tagged it as such. And I put very clearly in the notes that it was more based off of my life, just using these characters as kind of like conduits to tell my story. Or at least a small piece of it from college. But, so that one would be one that could stand on its own. It was hardly those characters. And I think the same for Blood Moon. That was vampires. It had nothing to do with an island. It had nothing to do with an experiment. It was vampires. And then with I Really Do, a lot of the main characters were made up. Nate and Mel were original. Or, you know, Brooke's brother and his wife were original. And that was fun. That was probably the first time I've included pieces of my real love story into a story. My wife and I were married before we got married. You know, we had done the courthouse thing before we did the ceremony thing. So that was like a fun thing to get to kind of put into writing. I love hiding pieces of myself and into books, into things that I write. You're laughing as you're drinking tea in my house. You're welcome. But yeah, no, to your question, when do you think they have legs to stand on their own? I think if it's out of that universe, it's a pretty easy fix. This was modern times, no magical powers, no sword,
no halo,
no halo. I did rewrite from fic to book. I did rewrite Ava or Anna in the original version. Her backstory, her mom's not dead anymore in the real book, so you're welcome, Mrs. Fourchette. So I unkilled a character. She didn't make an appearance. I had written another epilogue that she did, but I didn't include it in the end. I just thought it added too much after the story had wrapped itself up. But yeah, so no, I'm sorry, that was rambling, but I think whenever it is far enough removed from the original content, for me this really felt like rewrite the names, change a few pieces of the background, and backstory, and that was pretty much it. There was no more, like, I guess if you know the original, or if you're familiar with the original, and you squint and tilt your head, you could guess, but not enough that I would worry about it.
As my wife sits in the other room as a non-original reader, she had no idea until I kind of gave her insight to it.
So I do that, though. I always have a few friends that aren't in whatever fan. I say always, like I've done this so many times. I've done it twice now, and I have my sister-in-law read it, and she's not been in either fandom. She hadn't watched The Wilds, and she hadn't watched Warrior Nun. And I had her read it. Shout out to Nikki, if you ever listen to this, you're the best. But I had her read it and ask if she could figure it out. So she went looking for what it could be affiliated with and couldn't find anything in either case. And then I had for this one, I had one of my friends, Katie, also read it, and she, without telling her it was ever a fan fiction, and she didn't have any inkling. So I did it twice. I don't think she knows I write fan fiction, actually, now that I say it.
So is there a grieving process when you take a fan fiction that, obviously there was a lot of traction when it was live and being published every week, and even after the fact, people really got involved in the story. Obviously, I too was very invested in it for a long time, but yeah. Is there a grieving process when you have to take, your original piece that you built and then have to change characters and kind of, like you said, you don't have to change a lot of, B to Brooke, Ava to Anna, but is there a time where you kind of have to sunset the Ava and B story in your head and let Anna and Brooke be the ones that move it forward?
It's something we've talked about, so if this ruins another question, I'm sorry, but we have talked about the one thing that I did not want to let go, that I really dragged my feet on letting go, so I'm sorry if I ruin another question, but the losing Anna's restaurant being called the Silver Spoon was painful. I could not come up with anything to replace it. I played with so many last names trying to come up with a good, decent,
food-oriented pun.
Decent, pitiful, just a scrap of a good, any sort of wordplay. I was like, she can't just be a hot chick in a newspaper. There has to be wordplay involved. And I feel like La Fourchette is so weak, but it does mean the fork in French, so I'll take it.
Silver Spoon was a really strong...
It was such a strong one, and I fell flat on it. It will always bother me, and I just know that one day I'm going to come up with a good one, because it still eats at me, and I just know one day I'm going to come up with a good one, and I'm just going to post what it should have been. I'll just tweet, hey, I came up with a better...
There you go.
I came up with a better name.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Reprint all around Anna's new last name.
Was there anything else that kind of, killed you inside to let go of the original that you had to rewrite?
The hardest scene to rewrite is the scene the morning after they fornicate and the Brooke gives Anna a massage, because it was in the fic, it was a halo-shaped medical device, like I hadn't gotten I hadn't really bothered to care because it was a fic, so I hadn't really done anything of what it could be, so I changed it to where it was more like burns and a lot of scars as opposed to a shaped device. That one took the most time. I had to pretty much rewrite most of that.
So speaking of time, like, how long would you say the reworking process takes, aside from just, control F on names and replacing, and
so
do you have to read, do you read it
I will
differently?
tell you the funniest control F on names that I shot myself in the foot. B starts the word beautiful. BEA starts the word beautiful, and I searched BEA and it updated it to Brooke, and I got a lot of Brookutifuls. And when I tell you that was a I won't say it. I was like, I don't know what this is rated. That was brutal. That was Brookoodle. So bad. I ended up searching Brooke and changing it all back and starting over. That was awful. Another one that was kind of hard when you just control F to find names, and I'm sure I'm going to say this, and someone, hopefully, hey, if y'all have a solution, send it to me, I respect. But if you shorten someone's name, like a B, or Camilla to Cam, finding all of the shorter versions is, what all did I refer to them as? Did they have a nickname? Is there another show adjacent nickname that might be involved that I have to also change? So that was hard. As far as time goes, I mean, I'm super ADHD, so time to write it should not take that long, but I would say, and we've talked about this too, but I haven't said it here. I have like a Emily formula of chapters being about 3,000 to somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 words. Usually try to hit right around the 3,500 mark. I feel like that takes about 30 minutes to read, which to me is like right about a sweet spot for a chapter. And that takes...
My wife would cringe, but...
Your wife did cringe. Your wife actually recoiled in horror at the length of my chapters when I could see them on paper. I was like, they're not that long. 20 pages later. Oopies. But no, yeah, so to write a chapter probably takes about 4 hours. And that's not including editing it. I'm sure I could do it faster if I didn't get distracted by the internet or my wife or a cat or a dog. But yeah, it takes about 4
So how
hours.
many times while you were reworking it did you have to go back and read it in different iterations to catch all of the one-offs, aside from sending it to, family and friends to kind of do a first pass?
Yeah, shout out to my main editor, Sam. Love you. But yeah, I think I've read it 4 times. And what was interesting about it was I read it, obviously, like, as I was writing it, I would read it and edit it, and my friend Sam would help me edit, just looking for grammar, and she's so good. She catches sentences that don't make sense. If I use the same words, like, 4 times in a paragraph, she's like, this is getting redundant, mate. Pick a new word. So that's super invaluable, and I strongly encourage everyone to find a beta reader who will be honest with you, because sometimes it just ain't a good sentence, and sometimes it's not, and then sometimes you stand by it and you're either right or wrong. But so not including the original write, reread, let Sam read it, read her edits, post it. I think I've read it 4 times. I read it once when I decided I was going to try to change it over to see if I thought it could stand on its own, which would have been probably 6 months ago. I read it once, maybe a little longer ago than that. We're in December. Well, no, because it was about when I went to see you and over the summer that I wanted to do it, because we had this conversation then, and I had just started to redo it.
Yeah.
If that's, my timeline is right.
Yeah. I think you were, when you visited for the Fletcher show, I think we had a conversation similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I had asked, I was like, is it coming? And you kind of gave me that, like,
maybe.
I don't know. Smirk.
I was reading it then, that's why. And I was trying to figure out if it was something I could do. So, and obviously I determined I could. It was worth the effort to change it over. So I read it once then, just to see if I could do it. Decided it would be worth it. And then I went through and I did all the names, and I did, a few minor things. I did not do heavy cuts on that one. I did not do heavy changes. I did not really play.
The benefits of it being an AU and not being super plot dependent.
Oh, yeah, and not being entangled in that world at all. I didn't have to get creative on that front. And having original characters that I didn't have to mess with or change. I mean, the biggest conflict is not at all related to the show. So, really, it was just the characters, which is so much easier to fix than... Which is funny, because in Blood Moon, I changed one of the characters' eye colors, and I was like, they'll never know now! Like, it was so
Got
dumb.
him!
Like, so dumb! Her eyes aren't green, they're blue! It's so stupid. But,
Fooled everyone.
but honestly, though, like, little changes, and all of a sudden you have a different character. So, yeah, 4 reads, and then something, because I am... neurotic, but it served me well, is I read them I read it intentionally in different chunks. So by that I mean, if I read it one time where I read like chapters 1 and 2 in a night and did edits, and then 3 and 4 the next night and did edits, I would go back and read 1 through 4, knowing I wouldn't have as many edits to do, but looking for bigger things. And I actually caught, so it's just, if you caught it the first time, you're a better person than I, reach out and you can be a beta reader. But I caught that in the very opening, Brooke starts a cup of coffee and later she's drinking tea in the same sequence. And it was because I hadn't read it in one sitting, but I hadn't noticed that it had changed. But yeah, I mean, it got posted like that. No
one caught it.
If they did, they didn't say it, which is kind of you. Thank you. Be nice to your free content creators. But yeah, if someone did catch it, then, you know, thanks for not hurting my feelings by mean words. But yeah, I didn't catch it either for at least 3 reads.
That's a smart way to do it, I think, from a reader-only standpoint. Reading it as it comes out weekly, and especially in the thick of, you know, what the summer of 23 was in that fandom, and how many works and, you know...
What a time to be alive in a fandom.
Right?
Yeah, that's how I feel in the Arcane fandom
right
now. Yeah, it's fixed on anything.
It is everything.
Any topic.
It's all over the place. My emails were blowing up, but, you know, Mondays were unique with that coming out, but you're reading, you know, basically a continuation, but you're getting it in one-shot snippets. Yeah. Once a week, or in some instances, twice a week. I'm very vocal about the fact that I hate angst, so the week that you did... the angst chapter in IRD, it was a double or triple post week.
It was a triple post week. I was very grateful for
that.
Yeah.
We weren't friends yet, and I think I put something probably aggressive in a comment. Maybe not super aggressive, but aggressive for me, being like, "This is going to kill me for a week." And I don't know if you saw it or whatever, but 2 days later it came out.
I was gonna say, I've actually looked back at that, and I think I more remember how appreciative you were the second day, because I posted them 3 days in a row. I did, because and we've talked about this before, not Me to the Internet, hello Internet, I keep forgetting you're there, but we've talked about this before about, I have a bank of chapters before I ever start posting on a multi-chapter fic, because I don't want to run out of content. As a reader, as an avid reader of books, of fanfics, of newspaper articles, anything sapphic, I'm probably going to read it. If there's a homo on a magazine cover, I'm gonna buy it. As you've seen,
you do have Kristen Stewart in your little library,
front and center. But I just mean, I'm serious. If it's gay, I'm probably gonna buy it. So as a result, I die when stuff gets left unfinished, or when stuff does get left on a cliffhanger. I'm so opposed to it now. When we could media tangent all day about how I think you've got to stop leaving sapphics on cliffhangers. We don't get our shows renewed. So pick a different person to potentially die at the end of a season, because we can't be left like that anymore. I'm too fragile. But yeah, no, I got lost. But yes, I posted 3 back to back, because it was the angst, the resolution, and then the fornication were 3 in a row, and I wanted everyone to get those 3 back to back. And I still had 3 or 4 chapters already done, and I knew it was going to end soon anyway, so yeah.
as a not, good with angst girly, I greatly appreciated
I'm horrible with
that
angst.
in
I'm
real
horrible
time.
at writing angst. I don't like to hurt my babies.
I'm
Like
not an angst fan, and like I will wait, especially now that I'm more of a mature fic reader. I'm like, I'll give it a couple chapters,
yeah.
and I've told a couple other authors that are actively writing this still right now. I'm like, you let me know when you come out the other side of your angst, and then I will hop in. But like, I can't do that to myself.
I take it so personally, and some angst is just so well written, in any format. I'm constantly blown away. The Warrior Nun fandom was blessed with a lot of talent, both just on all fronts. Fic writing, the SMAUs or the SMAUs, however you say that word. The artwork was a very blessed fandom for that height of it.
Yeah.
Right there, following the end of season 2 was popping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
KTY was carrying a lot of the stuff on her shoulders.
She carried
and
so
William
much.
Miller. And...
I know a lot of people fangirl over KTY, but she deserves all the kudos and blessings that come her way from. I just think it's kind of rare to be in fandoms that the actors
are also kind of
in the fandom. Yeah. And she really feels to be. So, good on her for her involvement and engagement and keeping people interested and trying to keep people hyped when it started to fizzle. Yeah.
Now, taking a fic to an original work, is there one piece that's exceptionally more difficult and one that's what's your favorite or easiest part of rewriting, and what's like the hardest part of rewriting?
My favorite part of rewriting is those little pieces that do make them unique. I think when you do get to put yourself or a story you've heard or heck, other characters that you like, if you sneak in another character persona, obviously without giving them that name, but if you sneak in one of your favorites,
crossover, yeah.
If you have an unknown crossover that you never tell the world is a crossover,
yes.
I'm very Nate coded. Actually, I know we've joked about the Brooke Kent things in my house, but I'm very Nate coded. So to sneak myself into a character as much as I did is kind of fun. Just because, I don't know, it's cute. That's my favorite part. That's my favorite part of changeovers is what can I make different about them that won't make them change as who they are. Hobbies, interests, details that don't change them fundamentally. That's probably my favorite part. My least favorite part, the same thing. So cheesy, I'm just kidding. My least favorite part is probably being worried that I'm not going to catch it all and that it wouldn't pass muster. Opening myself up to lawsuits is my least favorite part. So
how do you check for that? How do you avoid running into issues with copyright?
You just
you have a degree in writing.
I do, so. Yeah. You just gotta make it not at all connectable, really. I mean, if you
had you mentioned a Halo or
something
like that, that's an easy bullseye for
a
lawsuit.
Well, and I mean, this is something that the internet doesn't know, but I really do say praise Rhea on a regular basis. And it is like a funny joke that Warrior Nun has imparted on me that it probably wasn't even in the show, but I say praise Rhea on the regular, all the time. Anytime you said something good, I'm like praise Rhea. So, making sure nothing like that gets left. No character names are left the same. No places are left the same. I don't know. I just am like, just get it all out. You don't want there to be anything. That was the same with Blood Moon. Just don't let anything connect you back. The good news is, for writers, for fic writers, for anyone who is worried that they might have a story that's too similar to something else, fanfic has been around forever. You know, so many stories are retellings. I think about Shakespeare and modern day stories that we're used to. 10 Things I Hate About You is The Taming of the Shrew. I think about She's the Man is Twelfth Night. How many iterations of Romeo and Juliet have we seen? And then even more modern, you know, Jane Austen, Clueless is Emma. You know, it's a modern day retelling of Emma. So when I think about that, and then when I think about how popular fan fiction has become and how we've got so many fan fictions that are getting turned over now into stories, it's a lot less daunting of, am I messing up? Is someone going to catch this? Is someone going to notice? And the other thing is, I think it all comes down to intent, right? So if you were to get caught, if you didn't edit something out, what's the intent here? Am I intending to profit off of another work? Is it different enough that I could say, oops, my bad? But with this...
And that's how fan fiction can thrive.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the protections in place by certain, organizations such as AO3 and...
Wattpad and... Yeah, and they've done so much. And my thing is, you're not profiting off of it.
Correct.
Until you are. Well, that's why you have so many people. And I'm a big fan of it. I never had one, but the... God, I'm going to mispronounce it. The internet's going to judge me forever. The Ko-Fi or Coffee or whatever, where you can tip your author. Man, I'm a big fan of that. If you have an extra $5 and you love a story and an author has it set up, tip them. That's not illegal. There's nothing wrong with that. I work a full-time job. I joke all the time. I tell you, I've said it probably 100 times with you being here for this week. Like, I'm just some guy, Like, I forget that I wrote a book. Like, I do. The world doesn't know this, but I teach people how to operate heavy equipment, like construction equipment on the side. Like, I teach people how to operate forklifts on the daily. Tomorrow I'm teaching people how to operate scissor lifts. They have no idea. You're talking a room full of 12...
And you write queer smut.
I write queer smut in my spare time. Yeah, like, it's such a weird, fun hobby. I'm just like a nerd on the side, but I love that for me.
Yeah, a lot of people do too. So now, I guess that kind of leads us gently into our next question about, avoiding copyright and things like that. Obviously, you could have gone the route of finding, one of your traditional mom and pop publishers, Scholastic, Penguin.
Yeah.
What made you want to go down this path, and what pros do you feel that come with self-publishing you might entice other people and become maybe a little less daunting than...
I wish everyone would. I wish everyone that wrote a 3-act, a full beginning, middle, and end story would consider going the self-publishing route. And I say that for several reasons. First and probably most important is that I truly and genuinely to my core believe that we need more sapphic stories told by sapphic people. It's one thing to get my perspective as a she-her, slightly butchy, lesbian, like soft mask, lesbian vibes. But I'm telling that perspective from, like a middle-class white woman perspective, and there's no denying that. So I'm a big fan of whoever you are, whatever your situation is, if you can tell a full story, tell it and put it out there. And the bigger platform you can have, the better for the rest of us. And I am such a proponent of that. I feel that way about art too. If you can make art, make it. I can't paint or draw to save my life, but if I could, I would, and it would also be out there. I just think we need to tell more stories, share more stories, ask more questions about each other, try to put as much of our history and our hopes and our dreams and our sci-fi fantasies out there as we can. So I truly hope, if anyone takes anything out of this whole interview, I hope that you might be encouraged. And feel free to DM me and ask me questions about how or what in more specific detail. But yeah, I just feel really strongly about that. And don't be daunted by it. It's not hard. Why did I go the route that I went? I had done it. I reached out to... I did a lot of research. And I do, you mentioned it, I have a writing degree, so there are some things that I know and some things that I don't know, and some things that I've tried before, and some things that I did a little better this time. I reached out to an agent. She had a lot of good questions. I was able to answer those questions, and everything was lining up that it was going to work, but it was going to be a year. It was going to be having a professional editor. It was going to be expensive. And maybe not coming directly like out of pocket, but coming out of the profit. And I think, given that I do really enjoy my day job, I do enjoy teaching people how to operate construction equipment, as silly as that sounds. I actually really love my day job. And that being said, with this being a hobby, it just wasn't the timeline. I lost the control. IRD is like 124 and some change thousand words, and the average romance novel is 90,000 words. So that was going to be 20,000 words at least cut, but I didn't want to cut. I mean, we've talked about it. I'm going to out you for your favorite sequence. Do you want to tell the world what your favorite sequence is?
Oh, the post-fornication scene where Anna is cleaning off the counter.
Yeah.
And she comments about her
food safety license.
Yes. For whatever reason, and I think it's because I like your ability to write them in just relatable context, and in just to make them so relatable that they you just feel like you're just watching like almost like a mini movie play out in your head when you read it. That to me was just like, if I worked in a restaurant or had, food safety regulations I too had to abide by, like, that is a comment that I could see coming from that character in both, the original fan fiction and this original work as you've built, Anna and Brooke up. That's just like, to me that was just so funny, and I come back to it every time, and there's on paper there's nothing that calls that out as unique, but for whatever reason that was just something that stuck with me as like, that was just very character coded, and it was just a really silly sequence that I really enjoyed.
I love that. But the reason I made you share that story is because I feel like that's the kind of stuff that
would have to get cut.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not that specific moment, but like as I did one of my final rereads kind of with that in mind, I was still going back and forth of, is this the right decision? Should I go the more traditional route? I felt really confident that I was making the correct decision. But there's always that lingering, are you sure? Are you sure? And as I was reading it, the beginning stuff where they're getting to know each other, where Anna comes over for movie night, when they go out to dinner, when they go to the bookstore afterwards, I just was like, one of these chapters is for sure getting cut. The epilogues are both getting cut, which I ended up cutting anyways to write something that was more book specific and to just give someone something new to read, just an additional 3,000 words that were cute and that they hadn't seen before. But just as I was reading it, I was like, oh, it would be this. It would be this. It would be this. And I just didn't want to. I think I'm a control freak at heart. I just didn't want to. I was like, these are good words. They need to stay. These are happy words. So
now, if you would have gone the publisher route, once you've submitted to a publisher, do you relinquish all rights to the story? Or if they would have turned it down, could you have then turned around and self-published?
No, I could have turned around and self-published. If they don't take it, it's still yours. But there is, I'd have to get an agent. That's where I started, reaching out first, and you'd have to negotiate that with your agent, and then. But to me, it was one of those like, I would then be paying an agent, I'd be paying an editor, I'd be, and I was like, at what point do you say this is a fan fiction turned original book? I don't, I don't. Not that I don't need all that, but I had more success than I'd ever imagined with Blood Moon. And the only reason I had self-published Blood Moon was because I wanted a physical copy of it. I was proud of myself for writing a full-length novel that was pretty much a standalone, and I wanted to have published a book by the time I was 30, and I was 29, staring down the barrel of my birthday, and I went, hey, this seems pretty easy, and it was July 2nd, and just a day, and I was like, I wonder what happens if I click this button. Oh, it's live. Oh, I can buy a book now. That is a true story.
Happy accident.
The happy accident, yeah. No, I mean, I had done work on it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I had made sure that it was good to go, and I had my sister-in-law Photoshop a photo of the moon to be the cover for me. But it was very, hey, Nikki, that's my sister-in-law, can you, like, I need, like, a blood moon, but I need it to, like, pop. Like, I need you to take, like, a photo of the blood moon, but then make it look like it's actually bleeding for a vampire story. And she was like, I want to read the vampire story. And I was like, okay. So I let her read it, little freak. And she was like, yo, this is pretty good. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to try to, like, self-publish it so I can have a copy of it. And she was like, dope, I want a copy of it. And I was like, dope. And of course, word got back to my mother, and my mother was like, "I want a copy of it."
How many chapters did you have to duct tape of that book so that your
so,
mother didn't read it?
So much of that book is taped together that my mother looked me dead in the eye and "Did you write porn?" Her little southern accent. She was so not having it. I'm sorry for disappointing you, Mom. And yes, I did. I hope you didn't read any of it for real. So yeah, but it was just cool. And I did post on Twitter. I did post about it. And other people had read it. It was a fanfic first, so it wasn't like it was a complete shocker or an unknown. But the fact that people wanted to buy it was really cool. So when I decided to do that with this one, I was like, let's be a little less chaotic about it. Let's have a little more of a plan. Let's, I was like, let's do a more traditional romance novel cover.
Yeah, let's talk about Amy.
Oh, Amy's the best. I love Amy.
Fantastic.
I wish Amy was here.
The cover turned out so good.
The cover's incredible.
Shout out to Amy. Fantastic.
Shout out to Amy. And I like, okay, so here's the deal. I'm an idiot. I posted on Twitter that I was looking for someone to do a cover.
Yeah.
Obviously, I already knew what it was. I'd already done most of my reworks. I was like on the third or fourth reread, like almost done by the time I asked for, cover help. And I got more DMs from random people. Like, shout out to cover artists who are bold and put themselves out there. Like, that is hard. And a lot of them were so kind and so respectful and asked a lot of really good questions that I did not know to think about.
Yeah.
So anyone who DM'd me for that, seriously, thank you. I know I try to do my best to go through and thank everybody. But when I saw that Amy, who I'd interacted with before on Twitter, just as like in the fandom, I don't know if we had like DM'd each other before, or if it was more of just like comments on each other's tweets, but I was already a fan. I'd already seen a lot of what she had done. I was already following her. And I knew that she would be familiar with the original work. So to me, kind of a no-brainer. And another, just, it just worked out. So to me, I was like, yeah, we're gonna go with this. This is cool. I know you're part of the fandom. That seems like the best fit. And man, I was so right. Like, that was so dope. And
good.
Well, I just remember, and I don't know if Amy knows this, so Amy, I'm outing my secrets now. Anytime Amy sent me anything, I forwarded it to you. I was like, oh my god, I was geeking out. I cried twice. I screamed once in front of people.
I'm pretty sure I screamed the first time you sent us, like, the couple renderings.
Yeah. The very first round where it was, I screamed in front of people. I got an email, and I wanted to see. Obviously, I have no patience. And I saw that Amy had sent me an email, and I was like, oh, if it's more questions, I need to answer them right away. If it's a mock-up, like, oh my god, it's a mock-up, And I opened it, and I just, like, let out a string of expletives. I was so excited, and I was at work. Like, I was in front of people that I was teaching how to drive a forklift, and I was like, I'm so sorry, that's the coolest email I've ever gotten in my life.
Sorry, I have to show you my sapphic book cover.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, y'all. Of course, and then, of course, I'm like, can't really say what that is, but I work in a very conservative industry, but...
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god, they're real.
Yeah.
They're real.
The real book cover.
I did a lot of screaming and jumping. I am kind of a soft mask, and I did so many girly screams and jumps that I hurt my vocal cords, I think, permanent damage. But yeah, it was epic. And I would, poor Amy, I'm such a handful, and I would apologize every time I had a question, or what if we did this, or what if we did this, and I had a Pinterest board and a dream, and she made it come true. And I'm blown away. I already told her she's stuck with me. Anything else I write in the future, she's got to do my cover.
Yeah, fantastic. It turned out really great.
And she's so good to work with. Like, it's just so, like, good vibes.
Yeah.
Good vibes.
She's super witty.
Oh, yeah.
Based on, like, the one tweet interaction I had with her earlier today. That was, like,
yeah.
probably the first time we, like, interacted on a one-to-one basis. But, she cracks me up.
So, no, I mean, she's so cool, and I'm so bad with computers. I'm like, I'll tell you that. I'm not good with computers, and I straight up gave her my login to my, like, author account so that she could just upload the cover straight away, because you got one of the originals.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little blurry. And yeah, and I told her that. I was like, I don't know how to tell you, like, I don't know what we need to do. I was like, it's amazing. Like, it was so amazing.
It was just a little pixelated.
It was just a little pixelated, and I told her that, and she was like, And I didn't want to send her a copy of a pixelated version. I sent her a paperback and a hardback of after she fixed them, so that she'd have nice copies. But I was like, it's kind of grainy, you know? And she was like, And I, like, sent her a close-up photo of it so she could see, and she was like, yeah, you need to do this. And I was like, yeah, I don't understand any of that. Can I just, like, give you my login?
Shout out to the computer
savvy
folks in the world.
Savvy folks. And she just was so kind. She was like, yeah, that's fine. She fixed it. She fixed the whole thing. She fixed it for both paperback and hardback, just, like, in a day. She was like, no problem. Fixed it. What a champ.
She's a wizard.
She's a wizard.
She is a wizard.
That's a fun Amy story for you.
Yeah. So, to kind of close it up, obviously, you know, we've kind of gone from start to finish. You're writing, rewriting, timelines, things like that. Are they permanently Anna and Brooke in your head now? Do they live as Anna and Brooke solely in your head now?
They do now. They did in the first reread, when I, like, just after I had just changed their names. They didn't, but changing Anna's backstory really solidified her. And then my thing with Brooke is that so much of her was headcanoned. So much of that was, how do I think this person would behave, interacting with her family who wronged her, and a little brother who she doesn't really know, in this world or this environment that was so different than what we had. Brooke was really easy to code switch in my head, because so little of her felt like the character from the show. So Brooke was Brooke from pretty much changing her name on paper for me.
Mm-hmm.
And as you've teased, I put a lot of myself in Brooke.
Yes.
Which you could probably start throwing out.
Sitting on Emily's couch on day one of being here, there was tea and Schitt's Creek and Sudoku / word puzzles, and it was like hanging out with Brooke.
Yeah, crosswords on my coffee table. Yeah. Yeah.
Very Brooke coded.
She's more organized than me. I have better art on my walls.
You do have better art on your walls. Can confirm.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of me in her, and that's always fun to sneak yourself into stuff. But yeah, so she was easy to code switch, but Anna was a lot harder. But also, other than changing Anna's backstory, there wasn't a whole lot of Anna to it, because it's from Brooke's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what's it been like since it's been out? It's been out for a little over 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks already?
Yeah.
It was it 2 weeks on Friday?
It'll be 2 weeks on Friday.
That is insane to me. I don't know. I think I'm just such an emotional little bean. I mean, y'all can't see me, thankfully, because I look rowdy. It's the end of the day. But I'm wearing a sweater that our mutual friend Taylor sent me that says, hot but cries a lot. I'm an emotional little bean.
If you're not between a 4 and a 7 on the emotional scale, you're crying.
Oh, for sure. And I hit 1 and 10 daily. So, that being said, I've cried a lot. Mainly I'm just thankful and grateful. It's very cool that people want to read your stuff. People posting photos of them getting their books has been its own form of gratifying. I don't know how else to word it. I cry a lot. But mostly just overwhelmed. It's been really cool. It's been really neat, and I am very appreciative of the fandom for still caring. And I'm appreciative of people trying to support in any way they can. That's super cool. It's obviously the dream would be to one day just be a writer. I live in a very expensive city, so that's probably not anytime soon, but it would be dope.
Yeah.
It would be dope. And it does really mean a lot that people want to buy my book and support that as a dream or a goal. So I won't cry in this interview, though, even though we're not on camera.
Which is a good thing, because I'm in a Batman snuggie.
You are in my Batman snuggie. That's my writing snuggie. That snuggie helped write the book.
My voice is cracking. I'm in a Batman snuggie, and I have to straighten my hair after this, so I look like a colonial boy.
We're a vibe.
It's late. Everybody else in the world is pretty much asleep, which is why we didn't do this live.
Yes.
Because the time zone would have been brutal for, I would say, 95% of the people that would probably be listening into this.
Yeah. But I'm glad that
Except
we
for
did
maybe our Aussie pals.
Yeah, true.
But,
they're awake now.
Yeah. But, so what's next? Are we any continuations in the IRD universe? I know a lot of people have asked about, I Always Did.
Mm.
Any speculation on if that would be coming or any type of next isms?
So, Allison and I are both big fans of the author Haley Cass. If you've not checked out her stuff, I don't know her personally, but I'm a prop her stuff right now. A lot of good content there. She does little continuations, smaller novels, 100-page, 120-page continuations of her bigger stories, and I'm not above it, and I'm not opposed to it. And if I did something, it would be in that form.
Nice.
It would be probably Anna's perspective, probably a little before the trip, but then I'll probably more after the trip would be key. Especially since I didn't kill off her mother. I did write a whole chapter about them meeting the mother. Yeah. And I think that would be cute to include. It is a cute chapter.
Well, now that you said you have it.
You can have it. I don't care.
No.
It's like, you get that right.
Peer pressure.
I was like, no,
the key is to fangirl over your favorite fanfiction author and then slowly infiltrate their life.
It worked.
And then eventually you'll be sitting in their study.
It worked.
It did work.
Yeah, it worked.
Alright, so potentially not a full book close on Brooke and Anna.
Yeah, probably not a full length, at least not from their perspective. I am making no promises because I literally have a notebook full of ideas of stories that I want to write. So I am not making any promises, but I do know who a spinoff would be based off of if a spinoff were to be based. If we were more in that world. But it wouldn't be them. They would be side characters.
Okay, so we're going, again, nod to Haley Cass.
Not to Haley Cass
Haley
again.
Cass fans in this
Haley
house.
Cass fans in this house. I have like a shelf.
So a similar vibe to Snowball Effect and Those Who Wait world
exactly.
building.
Yeah.
Okay. Still not going to tell me who it is?
I'll tell you off recording.
That's not fair to everybody else.
I don't want to promise it as a story because I have the age gap romance. I have a soccer story. I have a lot going on.
Fair.
Yeah, I have more now that I'm down an arcane rabbit hole. I have a long fic for Arcane plotted, and it is super universe tied, so it would stay as fic. Okay.
So for those that are interested in following next work-isms,
probably you're gonna get another Arcane fic out of me. I wrote one shot. Probably gonna get another. I'm gonna not let it get out of hand. I said that about IRD too. I'm gonna not let it get out of hand. I think I said that IRD was gonna be like 12 chapters, and it was not 12 chapters. But I'm gonna limit my Arcane fic to a number
because it is very universe tied.
It's super universe tied. It is gonna but my thing is like it just when I think of a story, it plays out like a movie in my head, and then I kind of am stuck rewatching the same movie until I write it down. Yeah. Which is fun until it gets really annoying and kind of stressful because you're like, can I please see a different movie, brain? And I always feel like the Tiny Tim voice, like, please, can I just watch another film? And like, my brain's just like, no.
You're not supposed to make me laugh because it makes me cough.
My brain is just like, no, same movie. And I'm like, but we do it. It does it constantly.
Note to self, don't do interviews with chest infections.
Note to self, don't interview Emily. She's weird.
So, before we do our send-off, because we're getting close to an hour, and that's what we promised ourselves we would kind of cap it at. Yep. I wanted to do a fun little this or that just because I was feeling menacey when we were having our conversation the other night, and Jordan was mocking this interview.
Jordan is Allison's wife.
Yes, Jordan is my wife. Jordan was running a
mock
of this interview because I quite literally couldn't speak.
No, you were whispering at us. It was really funny.
Yeah, it was very... We were afraid that this was going to be an ASMR session because I had to whisper everything.
I thought I was going to have to whisper back.
I had a very squeaky voice.
Yeah, and my wife was like, thankfully playing... No, you can't ask that question. Yes. She was like, Emily will tangent too hard or say something horrific.
Yes. So I tried to keep them...
Shout out to our wives, Jordan and Sarah, for the win.
They keep us in and grounded. Because otherwise, left unsupervised, we would certainly spiral.
Yeah, easy.
Okay, so this or that.
Okay.
Arcane. Vi or Kate?
Vi.
Warrior Nun. Ava or Beatrice?
Beatrice.
Alright. Lilith and Adriel's implied sex scene or Beatrice's condom head scenes where her
head scenes
where her outfit looks like
the beacon. The beacon. It does something to me, I think. I'm here for it. No question.
Emily Andress or Dean English?
Pass.
Ashley Herring Blake or Meryl Wilsner?
Ashley Herring Blake.
Now this question is based on characters, not universes. Delilah Green or Charlotte Thompson?
Charlotte Thompson can step on me.
Universes. Those Who Wait or Delilah Green?
Those Who Wait.
Fletcher or Renee Rapp?
Oh, no!
Shout out to Taylor because she helped me come up with half of these. And
oh, no. That's too hard. Pass for I not knowing.
So Taylor's original one was Fletcher or Chapel Roan. Could you choose between those two?
To like see, to date, to have step on me? What is the question
just
here?
Just in general.
To see as a concert? I saw both this year. Both were a vibe.
Fletcher was a good time.
Fletcher was a good time. I saw her twice this year, actually. And then I saw Renee Rapp this year, too. I saw all three. I don't know. Renee Rapp is so hot.
All right.
Oh, that's a hard question.
Ketchup or mustard?
Mustard.
Dogs or cats? Both of your animals are
I was like, I think they can all see me right now. All animals. Birds.
Would you rather disappoint your mom or disappoint your wife?
I would rather disappoint my mom.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Cold weather or warm weather?
Cold weather.
Audiobook or reading a physical book?
Reading a physical book.
Aaron James or Krista Stewart?
Aaron James. Hey girl, say girl, please be listening to this. I love you.
Arcane or The Wilds?
Arcane.
Shelby or Leah?
Shelby. But Shelby and I are too similar.
Who do you hate more, Lilith's mom or Brooke's mom?
Brooke's mom, because I made her up. And she's mean in my head. In my mom's book, my dedication to her, like that I wrote in her book, was thanks for not being Sybil Kent.
I do remember that,
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart in Happiest Season or Love Lies Bleeding?
Love Lives Bleeding. Oh, give me that bad mullet.
We have very different tastes.
You did this. You made this.
Subaru or pickup truck?
Pickup truck. I know. Ford Ranger, but not the new ones. Like pre-2010 Ford Ranger.
We're talking like Hot Wheels 1990s Ford Ranger? Okay.
Yeah.
Flannel or sweater vest?
Oof! My kryptonite on both. ¿Por qué no los dos? Why can't I wear both? Why can't I wear both in Clash? I have both. I've been very obsessed with my sweater vest this year, though.
And that's all she wrote, friends.
We did good.
You survived this
57 minutes.
Any last words to the fandom and those that are listening or going to read your book?
It's wild to me that you would listen to us have a conversation. I appreciate any and all support. Listening to this, sharing posts, buying my book, sending me a DM. I think I have come up with a okay solution for the autograph thing. My book plates are supposed to get here this week, the first round that I ordered. So I'll make a little Google form about that so that I can get those filled out, signed, and sent to you. The fact that people read my stuff is wild. And it makes me need to learn more words so that I can better articulate how it makes me feel. Writing can often feel kind of lonely. I think I'm funny. I'm also fully aware that I'm a little weirdo. So I think I'm funny, but having, we've talked about why I can't leave fanfic, and it's the instant gratification of, it makes it a team sport. People giving you comments and feedback. Please do that. If you are reading a fic and you like it, please say thank you. I don't know how to explain the rush you get when you wake up in the morning and you have emails just sitting in your inbox of people who said, good food. This was dope. Fire emoji. You don't have to be writing sonnets back to your favorite fanfic author. I had the nicest comment ever given to me. just last week I wrote a one shot for Arcane because I'm obsessed and obnoxious about it. And but yeah, wrote a one shot for Arcane, and someone in the comments said, I've not read any Arcane. I know you had similar, but someone who wasn't you said, I haven't read any Arcane, but I'm here because you wrote this. And this
slaps more when it's a stranger, I guess.
Slaps so much. No, I mean, I've communicated with that person before, so it wasn't like completely out of the blue, but
it is cool.
It is the kindest compliment. I mean, obviously, you make me emotional too when you say nice stuff about me, just because I am such an emotional little bean, but like, to have that be something that anyone would do, even you as one of my best friends, like, to have people do that, and to have two people say that on something was, I got really emotional. And I've had someone follow me from one fandom to another and say, oh, I'm so glad you showed up here. And I'm just like, that's
cool.
So kind. Like, that's so kind. Say nice words to people who create stuff. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
Any last words? Thank you for reading. I'm going to cry about it again. But yeah.
And I'll cough about it again. It's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for interviewing me. This is silly.
Thanks. You had a couple other asks, so I appreciate that you let me do it, my husky voice and ridiculous coughing and everything all inclusive. But
yeah, no, this was
it was fun.
Thanks for coming to my home turf for it.
Yeah.
Thanks for...
We specifically waited for this trip to do this interview.
Yeah. So. Thanks for being who did it. I'm awkward. You made me less awkward.
There we go.
Yeah.
It was fun.
All right. Love you, dude. Thanks.
See ya.